Hey everyone, my name is Warwick Wright. I'm back again with some more poetry. Now uploading section 2 of my Evolution of the Empires poetry. This poem is entitled Normalise Questionable Things. If any of you guys watched my previous poetry, you probably know I'm a commie, and a lot of my poetry is kind of about anti-capitalist or anti-imperial sentiment and kind of pro-capitalist, pro-communist views. So I'm going to start out by reading this poem, followed by a little kind of closing commentary on what the lines of the poem mean to me and what I meant by them when I wrote these lines, and kind of follow up with some other stuff. So anyway, here's the poem. It's quite a short section. Normalise questionable things. Merge the group, illusion of intent. Conscript the troop, by hell he is bent. Rally the roots, fueled by lent. Off to the arena is where they went. They, us, we, or I. What is the truth? Propaganda or lie? The correct answer is just by the by. Enslaved by saying, this group am I. Okay, bit short poem there. I'll explain what I meant by this. Basically, the overall meaning of stage 2 of the empire is really about how, when an empire evolves and it gets a bit of momentum and it starts to normalize questionable things, where philosophies and beliefs become so normal and common and known by everyone that people just tend to believe them because they're so common. So that's kind of the theme of section 2 of this poetry. You got merge the group, the illusion of intent. What that line basically means is, you probably heard that saying that the pathway to hell is paved with good intent. That's basically what that means. Rally the root, fueled by lent. That's really to do with lending money. And of course we've got what is the truth, propaganda or lie in the poem. It's kind of obvious, when they normalise beliefs and they get control of the media and they start brainwashing people and only giving them one point of view. That's kind of what that's about. But the end of the poem is probably the most important, significant part of the poem, where it says, enslaved by saying, this group am I. And what I really meant by this is that when a person believes in an ideology, and it could be a religious ideology, a political ideology, and people associate with it and they identify with it. And sometimes this is dangerous because sometimes it's very important to keep the group and the ideology separate, because sometimes if you have too much faith and confidence in the leader of a group, they can actually lead you astray. Like, for example, with the writings of Karl Marx. Karl Marx, I think, was a very ingenious person. He wrote the doctrine on communism. For those who don't know, communism is basically the path, or according to Karl Marx, it's the evolutionary movement to a classless, stateless, moneyless society. That's what communism was all about. But Karl Marx was a social scientist. He was a sociologist, and his writings really addressed the group, because sociology is about the group. His writings didn't really address the individual that much. And what I'm all about as a communist is kind of filling in Karl Marx's gap and the beliefs that you need to have as an individual, groups which are kind of congruent with communism. And basically, people, one of the most common beliefs, obviously, the way to get control is kind of controlling people's beliefs. If you can trick people into taking on the wrong beliefs, or trick them into not taking on the right beliefs, then obviously they're easier to control. So, whenever someone talks about communism, and the most common trick to trick you into disbelieving a correct ideology is, well, look at North Korea, look at Russia, look at China, and put them forward as bad examples. Whether they're bad examples or not, that's a matter for another debate. But what's important is that communism is the path to a classless, stateless, moneyless society. So forget about good examples, forget about bad examples. It's a correct belief. Doesn't matter whose mouth it comes from. Myself personally, just because I'm a communist, doesn't mean that I blindly have blind faith in the leaders of communist countries like Russia or China or North Korea. And it doesn't matter to me whether they're bad examples or not, because the belief is right, and the belief is what's important. And, if enough people take on the right beliefs, then that will create the reality, that will generate a new reality that we live in. So, what I'm saying with this poem is, stop being a retard, stop being so easily tricked into taking on a wrong belief. Someone says communism is good, oh, look at China. Oh, in that case, if China is a bad example, then the path to classless, stateless, moneyless society must be wrong. Stop being an idiot. Yeah, it's a correct belief. The amount of times, and it's not just on a group; it's on a personal level. You know, sometimes someone might say, "Yeah, Warwick said this thing's black." Oh no, the other guy said it's white. Well, who's telling the truth? Actually, Warwick's a git, so it must be white. You know, so just remember, forget about who's. Truth is truth, no matter whose mouth it comes from. If an ideology is correct, stop, think about it. Is it a correct ideology? And if it's a correct ideology, take it on, believe it, because taking on that belief will affect your nature, it will affect your will. If you indoctrinate the right belief in enough people, it will change the reality in which we live. So I'm going to close with that. I would say thank you very much for listening to what I have to say. I'd really appreciate it. Be uploading section 3 of the Evolution of the Empire's poetry, the last section next. So I'll bid you guys farewell and thank you for listening.